Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and in this video we will talk about AWS Global Accelerator. As the name implies, this service accelerates your application by improving the performance and availability of the app. To understand how it does that, first we need to understand the problem. Let's say you have an app with a global customer base. To improve the availability and performance of the app, your company decides to host the application from multiple regions. So guys, let's try to understand this with the help of a diagram. As I said, I'm running the application from multiple regions. Let's say I have load balancer 1 and load balancer 2. These two load balancers are running from two different regions. But if I want my customers to access the application, I am not going to provide individual addresses of these load balancers. Rather, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make use of a DNS service or Route 53 in that case. And I'm going to create a failover entry for load balancer 1 and load balancer 2. I may define load balancer 1 as primary and load balancer 2 as secondary address. And I will also associate a health check with both the load balancers. It is through the health check that Route 53 will get to know whether a load balancer is functional or not. Now, in the meantime, the client queries for the address of myapp.com. As and when client queries for the address, the primary address is returned back. The client in its turn is going to cache the entry. We all know that whenever a client device caches the DNS entry, there is always a TTL involved, that is time to live. Let's say in this scenario, the load balancer 1 goes down. The health check reports this incident back to the Route 53, and Route 53 is going to switch load balancer 2 and will define that as the primary address. Now the problem is the client device still thinks, because the client has already cached the IP address of load balancer 1 and it's still waiting for the TTL to expire before going for the next query, it will still try to continue connecting to load balancer 1. But you see, load balancer 1 has already failed. The DNS caching happens to be one of the problems which can be easily resolved with the help of Anycast IP, and that's what Global Accelerator provides. So let's understand what is Anycast IP and how it can help. Generally, IP addresses are advertised from single location. But in case of Anycast, the IP is advertised from multiple edge locations around the world. So, as and when a client tries reaching out to this IP, it has multiple choices as far as entry into AWS network is concerned. Client chooses the nearest edge location based on criterias, one of which is hop counts. AWS Global Infrastructure, the internal network of AWS, is connected to each other. If you look at the global infrastructure of AWS, the regions and multiple edge locations that we have are connected to each other using internal network of AWS. If the IP address is being advertised from multiple edge locations, the client will always choose the edge location that is nearest to the client via the hop counts. For example, if this client contacts this edge location, it will do so based on multiple criterias, one of which, as I said, is the hop count. So if the hop count happens to be less, the client will be able to reach out to the internal network of AWS via the edge location in minimum amount of time. You see, the more the number of hop counts, the higher the latency is going to be. As and when client reaches the nearest edge location, the Global Accelerator is the service that's working in the edge location. It receives the request and is going to forward the request to the load balancers in the region using internal network of AWS, and based on cold potato routing concept, it will maintain the quality of service and will reach the region faster. Let's see all of this practically. I am going to create 4 virtual machines across 2 different regions. So that way we have 2 virtual machines in each region. We are going to access these virtual machines via Global Accelerator. An important point to note is that Global Accelerator will always redirect the client request to the nearest region from the requester based on traffic dial and weight. I'm logged in into my AWS account. Let's choose 2 regions, North Virginia and Mumbai. Let me create these virtual machines. I'm going to start with EC2 and we are going to create 2 instances named VM1 and VM2. This is the user data, the script that will be executed as soon as the virtual machine is created. With the help of the script, I'm trying to install a web server that's going to run in the virtual machine. We are going to follow the same procedure and create virtual machine 2 as well. We have completed creation of these 2 web servers, VM1 and VM2 in North Virginia. We'll move on to Mumbai and create the same. So now the selected region is Mumbai and I'm going to create a virtual machine here as well. That's VM3 and we will create VM4 in the same way. You see, now we have VM1 and VM2 running in North Virginia. We have VM3 and VM4 running in Mumbai. Let's go ahead and create a global accelerator. You can do so by searching Global Accelerator. Let's open it up in new window. That's the dashboard. Global Accelerator happens to be a global service as the name implies. We will create accelerator. Let's name it Demo Accelerator 1. We are going to keep the accelerator type as standard. Next. Now on this screen, it is asking for listener. So you designate a listener by choosing a specific port or range to listen on for the global accelerator. If you want to make use of HTTP and HTTPS, so you can enter 80,443 TCP as the protocol. If you want to use client affinity, you can do the same. I don't need it in my environment, so I'm just going to skip that part. Click on next. Now the next thing it's asking you is which region your resources are in. So I have resources in US East 1, that's North Virginia, and I have a second one that's in Mumbai. The next number that you see is traffic dial. I'm not going to change that either. We'll move on to next. Now this is where it is asking me to add the endpoints. I'm going to click on add endpoint for US East 1 and you can see the endpoint kinds which are supported. You can have application load balancer, network load balancer, EC2 instance and elastic IP. I do have EC2 instance, so I'm going to select that. The EC2 instance that I want to use is VM1 and VM2. The number that you see here, weight, will let you decide which resource within a region the traffic will be routed to. So we have completed it for US East 1. Let's do the same for AP South 1, that is Mumbai. Choose the endpoint as VM3 and VM4. That's it. I will click on Create Accelerator. It's going to take some time. Now these are the 2 static IPs which are Anycast. There is also a DNS address that is provided. It may take some time for the global accelerator to become fully functional, so we are going to wait. So guys, after waiting for some period, as you can see, the global accelerator has been deployed. Let's use the DNS name. If I try to run the DNS query, it returns back the 2 static Anycast IPs which are associated with the Global Accelerator. Let's test this out. I'm going to test it, open up a new browser, and I'm going to paste the address, Global Accelerator DNS name. You can also use the static IPs which were given back as the part of configuration. Global Accelerator is always going to route the request to the closest region from the requester. So I, being the requester, when I'm sending a request, it redirected me to AP South 1. Let me do the same from a proxy server that happens to be near United States. Now, if you have a look at this, since this proxy server made a request on my behalf from United States, it's serving the content from US East 1B. That's all about AWS Global Accelerator. If you are interested in learning about any other topic, please put it in comment. I will try my best to be able to fulfill the requirement.